Welcome back to the Triple XP Arcade, the podcast where nerd culture levels up. We're here to press X on all things nerdy, so grab a token, press start, and let's rack up some
Triple XP!
Today in the arcade, as always, we have myself, Drew.
Hey everyone, got Lex logged in here.
What's up? It's Gigs.
For today, we're going to be continuing our October Outbreak series of Halloween or spooky themed episodes. So the topic for today in the arcade is horror games. So now we have to have a kind of a first level setting, because I think the first things first is we have to figure out what constitutes as a horror game. Because I think the three of us might have different perspectives on what we consider scary, and I think what we consider scary might determine if a game qualifies as a horror game or not, right? So let's kind of like start at the highest level. Blanket statement, what's kind of like the first qualifier for you guys that you would say, yes, this is now a horror game?
I mean, I get scared pretty easily. But I think the qualifier is like it has to be like dark or gritty. You know?
Dark or gritty.
Okay. Yeah, like almost like I don't know, depressing.
Yeah, okay.
Like it feels that you can't win. That's how I define a horror game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some sort of feeling of despair in it for you.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Okay. So that's it. That's like kind of like the main qualifier for you is it's got to have some sort of like feeling of despair or kind of like that dark kind of mood for it to lean more horror towards any other genre.
Yeah. I think that would be my immediate qualifier for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. How about you, Gigs?
For me, it's themes. I think the general aesthetic or theme of the game is kind of the thing that makes it a horror game to me. So typically that's like supernatural, generally creepy things. Usually there's a lot of death involved, of course. Mm-hmm. Or I guess it's just generally themes because there are horror games that are set, in a sci-fi universe, in a kind of a lower fi, I guess, universe, or olden days, or any kind of there's so many different types of horror or spooky themes. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a very wide blanket, but it's generally the theme has to kind of match.
That makes sense. And I think I'm somewhere kind of in between those two thoughts. I think a part of me feels like if you're playing a horror game, it has to feel, and I think this is where I lean over towards Lex's side, is it has to feel like you're playing uphill.
Okay.
Like if you're playing a horror game and you're like Superman, or there's no risk of you getting hurt, or you're like Rambo just blasting things away, it feels more like of an action game than a horror game for me, even if there's like scary, like you're fighting monsters or something like that. But then at the same time, I lean over towards what you're saying, Gigs, is it has to have a general theme or tone of being intentional to want to scare you, to put you in some sort of suspense or tension, right?
Yeah, I think tone is the perfect word there. It has to have the right tone.
Okay, so really, really high blanket level. We've now narrowed this down. So obviously for today's episode, we're not going to be talking about NBA Jam. We're not going to be talking about Mario Galaxy. Those things, like we know those immediately disqualify from being horror games. Fair?
That's fair.
Fair.
Okay. So the second question then, and this is kind of maybe just more of an interest question for me. When we're talking about horror games, do you find that there's a direct correlation between the graphics of the game and how scary the game is?
Ooh. No.
I'm going to say no as well.
No? Okay. So this is something that I was thinking about when we were kind of planning for this episode. Is I was trying to think of any horror games like from the Nintendo or previous era that were genuinely scary. Can either of you think of kind of old 8-bit or 16-bit games that kind of gave you those feelings of a horror game?
I have one, and there's actually games that are currently made that are kind of similar in feel. It's actually Hugo's Mansion. I thought was really creepy as a kid.
Oh my god, this is the PC game that you had, right?
Yeah, this was like, was this even Windows 95? I don't even know. This might have been before.
Yeah, I think this was before, because you were running that on DOS or something, right?
I want to say so. Like, this is grade 1 to 2 era of my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what is it? Like 10 years old, something like that.
Hugo's Mansion.
Yeah, Hugo's Mansion, and like for the time, I thought that was creepy. And that's what, 8-bit basically.
And for anyone who's not familiar, how would you explain what kind of game that is, Gigs, aside from a horror game?
It's like, the thing is, I don't even know if it was intentionally horror, but it was set in like a haunted house.
Yeah, right.
I think I'd have to like Google this, but it was a type of game where you had to type out your instructions to your character. So you're trying to investigate or like learn some sort of plot, and you basically can only move, but you also have to literally type in what you want to do. So it would be something like you walk up to a painting and you would type in look at painting, or turn around painting, something like that, or open door, or turn off lights. Like, you actually have to type it out, and then it happens, and then they explain what happens. If it's like a command that actually works in the game, then the environment will react accordingly, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was more like it would be like an old school detective style game.
Yeah.
If I were to give it like a genre. Yeah.
I know the kinds of games that you're talking about too. I used to play those kinds of games on the floppy disks.
Yep.
The 3.5 inch, because that's how you navigate. You have to kind of type through what you're doing. I remember us all taking turns, obviously playing that and trying different commands in different areas, because back in the day, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but there just wasn't any instructions or directions on what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So you just go and you figure it out, right?
There was a game in elementary in the computer lab. I don't know if you guys had it at your school, but at my elementary, it was a game, I think it was called Krista's Manuscript or something along those lines. Did you guys know what I'm talking about? It was like alongside Math Blaster and stuff like that.
I think you had a haunted computer in your school gigs, is what
No
it sounds
way.
like. It's called what?
I think it was called something along the lines of Krista's Manuscript, and that one was clearly not a horror game. That was for kids.
Are you
No,
just in like a folder on the desk?
No.
It's a
It's
word
just
doc.
like you like walk around and you're just trying to find. She like wrote a book, but the pages got like split up in her town or something, and so you're just trying to find like the pages for her book. But that was the same genre of game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Hugo's Mansion I remember it being, like, it was entertaining enough to engage us all to kind of be playing it for hours, and as straightforward as the gameplay is. But yeah, I do remember that sort of having that sense of tension there too, because not only are you trying to figure out what's going on in this, I do remember it being a haunted house too, or a haunted mansion, but you're like typing your commands in, and then you're waiting to see what the feedback is from that. So sometimes you get something new that you weren't expecting. Sometimes it's just nothing, but it's kind of a weird way of it being like an open world experience where you can do anything, but obviously there's only a certain limit of allowable selections as you go.
I think there was there's maybe like blood behind a painting or something. And so, as a kid, that was pretty spooky. Plus, there wasn't really anything that advanced at the time. I think like the closest thing to a horror game shortly thereafter would have been like Doom or something. Or maybe Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Well, see, because for me, the answer to that question, is there a correlation between graphics and scariness? I think there is a little bit from my perspective. I think that's just a matter of, at this stage, if I didn't play those games, like Hugo Mansion's a good example, Gigs, because I do remember that being scary. But now, if I was to pick any game, I would say pre-PS1 era. So I'm talking like Sega, Genesis, Super Nintendo, and before. I just don't feel like any of those games will be scary because the graphics feel novel to me. They feel like as nostalgic, you know? So it doesn't build that tension the same way as if you're playing a 3D or a current gen type of game with like the really intense graphics. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have, the thing is, I have counter arguments to that, which is why I answered the way I did.
Mhm.
So amongst my very large current backlog of, I call them spooky games on my Steam, on my Steam library. So there's a game called Faith that's out right now. I think it was released somewhat recently, maybe within the last year or two. And that game is incredibly creepy. I'm going through it right now. I'm about 2 of the 3 chapters in the game. And it's, if you Google it, it is like pre 8-bit. Like the graphic styling is incredibly creepy. But this is like, it looks like the E.T. game. If you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. The old Atari ET.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it is actually a super creepy game. And it intentionally uses that really old art style and the way that sounds are made and all this stuff. And that's, to me, that's an excellent example of a game that is scary as hell, but is also graphically like something you would make on a TI-83. You know what I mean? Like, and then, you know, one little step up from that is a game I played very recently. It was my September game, I think. And it's called Scald Against the Black Priory. And that is like pre-16-bit, but is also incredibly creepy, has really uneasy themes. It's about like cosmic horror, so that's like Cthulhu type themes and stuff.
Okay. Like Lovecraft kind of things.
Exactly, yeah. And that one has the aesthetic stylings of something that's pre-16-bit or even like 16-bit. So it looks incredibly good. It's incredibly creepy. Awesome game. And that's also recently-ish released. So I think there's lots of examples of games that might not look particularly frightening or anything like that because there's large pixels and very low definition, but as long as it's written and as long as people use that to the advantage of storytelling, which is more like you leave more up to the person that's experiencing it to fill in the gaps, it can be really creepy.
I wonder if there's a trend of, since these are recent releases or like current generation games, if they're able to kind of build on that horror vibe because they're intentionally made or downgraded, right? Versus in the 80s or 90s, the games were kind of technologically limited. So I'm wondering if, like, back in the old games, the game designers were overthinking of like, okay, I want to make a Dracula. So how can I do this in the 8-bit limitation that I have to make it look as close to a Dracula as I can? Versus now, like, they know kind of all of the capabilities they have, but now they can say, okay, I'm actually going to intentionally downgrade this in a certain style because I know the tone that I'm trying to build with the visuals. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that makes sense. That is probably actually more accurate. Is that they have a scary game or they have a creepy concept or whatever, and then they downgrade it, but they also know how to use it appropriately rather than trying to make it fit a box based on your technical limits.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah, I want to check those out just to kind of see, because I couldn't think of many examples, but I'm very intrigued to see if I can feel creeped out from sort of pre 8-bit eras.
Oh, but, yeah, definitely.
So we're going to obviously start diving into talking about some games, but I think it's a good level setting for our listeners, for them to understand, first of all, for the three of us, do we like horror games? And if we do, how do we typically like to play them? Let's start with Lex this time. Lex, you kind of mentioned you tend to scare on the easier side, right?
Yeah, like I like the idea of horror games. I don't think I can actually play them through and through, especially like how Giggs plays his games.
Yeah.
Like in the dark with headphones, with like, the windows open. I don't know how you do it.
So you like the concept of horror games, but you typically wouldn't play like a lot of horror games in your regular rotation.
Yeah, like I would play them if I had like people watching me. I think that's what makes it more fun. But if I'm playing like solo, my mind will get to me, and then I start thinking of like scary things, and then I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Like last Christmas, my brother wanted to watch me play Resident Evil 2. So that was like kind of like a nightly ritual where I would play for like an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think I remember telling you guys about this, but like there was one part in the game where the jump scare was so bad I actually threw out my bank.
Yeah, you texted me that.
It was like like if you guys have played Resident Evil, or for the listeners that have played it, like it's like a slow burn of like scare. But the jump scare that got me particularly was I thought it was a relatively safe area, and it was probably like the most intense breaks that have happened in the game. So
Yeah.
that was unsettling. Yeah, I do like the idea. I don't know. I don't even know if I can watch it alone. Like if I was like watching a streamer play alone, I would have to have like people with me to watch it because, like, for example, if Giggs was playing the game, and I'm watching him on Twitch, for example, and I'm alone, I feel like I would get super scared just because we're all alone in that sense.
Okay, so when you're playing games, if you're playing a horror game, the setting is lights on, you're in a bright room, and ideally you have other people in the room that are either just keeping you company or watching you play.
Yeah,
That's kind of the ideal setup.
Like a Saturday morning, kids running around.
Okay, you want to take as much of the ambiance out of it as possible.
Yeah, no, I like the ambience of like the nighttime dark. Like it makes it more exciting.
Yeah.
But I think I still need people with me. Like I can't solo a playthrough.
And Giggs, I have a feeling you're on the other side of the spectrum here, but do you like horror games? And if so, how do you typically like to play them?
Of course I love horror games. And Alex kind of like, he kind of described my setup. So I do play in the dark at night by myself, headphones on. That is kind of how I like to play it. It is to experience everything. I like hearing the noises. Like a lot of really, really good horror games have incredible sound design. So it's like I like to hear everything. And now the thing is, I say that I love horror games. I don't like jump scares. They get to me all the time. I like playing them because I like the tension and I like the themes. Just like horror themes are something that I've always been really fascinated by. And so I kind of get really into that kind of thing. So that's why I play them. Usually it's for a story or it's to just kind of see what kind of crazy ideas people have. And that's why I play them. But in general, I try to immerse myself in them and get right in there. Plus, it's funnier for my wife because she can hear me like yelling.
Well, how often would you say where you're playing something like a scary game like that, where you're immersed, you have headphones on, and someone, presumably your wife, will just kind of pop up or surprise you because you didn't realize someone else was in the room with you while you were playing? Does that happen often?
She has done that intentionally and unintentionally a small handful of times. Usually she knows that I'm playing because my office is dark and there's a glow, right? And she really doesn't like that. So
Yeah.
she tries to not walk in on me playing horror games because she doesn't want to see the weird stuff, the creepy things and the body horror type stuff. So she avoids me, but she's on occasion scared the living crap out of me, just like asking me a question while I'm in the middle of like a very tense like moment in a game.
Yeah. I mean, that's for me, I don't even, horror games aside, I have a hard time playing games with headphones on if I'm in the house by myself or something, because I worry that I'm not going to hear someone come into the house or something.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, I figured like you could hear somebody breaking a door. You know what I mean? Like at least that you'll feel it in the house in some way. You know what I mean? Or like the pets will
Or like leave your front door open.
No, never. I grew up with people like that, and actually, it was kind of like that back in the day. But I that always creeped me out, mostly because there was like people in my neighborhood that I didn't particularly like as a child. Not because they were creepy. It's just like, oh, I don't want to talk to him, or something like, you know. So I'd lock the door.
Okay, I think I'm. No, normally I end up falling somewhere in the middle of the spectrum here, but I think I'm the total other side of the spectrum from both of you. I don't actually like playing horror games at all.
Interesting.
Not my favorite genre. I have a bad habit of having a really quick attention span with games. And I find with horror games, in order to build the tension properly, a lot of those games have to go a lot slower because you're kind of layering on the tension and the mood and stuff, so it builds. You can't just be like thrown into a game and have it be scary in 30 seconds. That's just not how you build proper tension in a game, right? But because I prefer those games that are kind of like I can pick up and play for 15, 20 minutes and put it away, I've had a tendency to lean away from playing horror games in general. So maybe after today, you can give some recommendations, gigs for some that might be a little bit quicker to kind of get me enthralled right away. But that's typically my side. I don't prefer playing horror games, and if I was to be playing a horror game, I agree with you, Lex. All the lights on in the house, maybe not just the room. I have to be facing the entrance so I can see anything that's coming in front of me with nothing behind me. It has to be a real proper setup in order for me to feel comfortable with something like that. So I'm on the far end of the other side of the spectrum where I typically don't like horror games. But with that said, there's obviously been a lot of horror games that the three of us have played in our huge Rolodex of games that we played. So let's talk about some. Let's start with Lex. You have, I think you kind of touched base on one of the ones that you mentioned, Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Resident Evil series of games.
Resident Evil 2 was the first one I like, the remastered one, or not remastered, but like the remake. Yeah, that was the first one I actually played through and through from beginning to end. I beat it, and the only reason I beat it was because it came with DLC where I had all the weapons and infinite ammo. Weapons. So, the jokes with zombies that I had a rocket launcher.
It's literally one hit kill for like everything in the game.
Yeah, but that still didn't stop me from playing it, because in Resident Evil 2, not to make any spoilers or anything, but I think his name is Tyrant. Like, there's just a big zombie that's just following you throughout the game.
Oh, yeah. He's actually called Mr. X.
Mr. X, that's the one, yeah. And it's just, you can't take him out, so you're still always on the move. It's not like you can take a minute, relax, and explore the room because there's this lingering feel that someone's coming for you, Mm-hmm. So that was Resident Evil 2. I never played, like, the ones on PS1. I played Resident Evil 4 briefly on the GameCube, and I only started playing that because Gigs actually got it on GameCube. Mm-hmm. And I think you wanted to get it on PS2 instead, so then you sold me your copy of the GameCube version.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I got the Steelbook version on the PS2, and I gave you the GameCube one.
Yeah, yeah. And I started playing that one because I kind of liked how the feel was. It was very different from like how Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 played, like kind of like outside of the bird's view type, and it was like more third person. But I immediately stopped when you got to the first town. This is like it's like 15 minutes in, mind you. And there's the one enemy with a chainsaw who's just ruling you. Yeah, he got me, and then I kind of called it that up until I found a cheat where I had infinite ammo.
That was literally the first horde in the game, I think. Yeah.
The first horde.
Well, that's like when you enter the village, the first village.
Yeah. Like literally, like it's still like credits are rolling at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I never played anything past that up until the remake of 2, so I have a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Well, Gigs, you've played the original Resident Evil 2 plus the remake, right?
Yes, I've played all the mainline games.
Okay, so from your perspective, which of the two is scarier, in your opinion?
Oh, the remake is by a mile. Yeah.
The remake, really?
Because the remake... Okay, first of all, the remake's incredible. I think general consensus is that's either number 1 or number 2 for most people on the best Resident Evil game. So there's that. But in general, the tension in 2 is a lot more palpable, I think, because in this case it was more of a graphical thing. They really leaned into like a lot more dark hallways and tense atmosphere.
You're talking about the first one, the original one?
No, I'm talking about the remake of 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but in contrast, the original Resident Evil 2, if you go back, it's brighter. Not intense. It might just be because that was the age we lived in, right?
Yeah.
When things were playing on CRTs, everything was it had a lot more atmosphere on a CRT compared to like when you play it nowadays on anything else. But in general, it's just like the creepiness is actually quite present in the remake as opposed to the original. Although the original is, I wouldn't say by means a bad game. I still think that's like top 10 Resident Evil. It's just, it is presented better in the remake, in my opinion. That's all. Yep.
For me, I feel like a part of this series specifically, this isn't sort of universal across all games. For the Resident Evil series, I found that Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, the original ones, made me feel more scared than the newer ones because the mechanics of the game.
Tank controls.
The tank controls for Resident Evil were brutal. I can't.
Really?
I hated those controls, but it made it feel extra scary, and I think it kind of added to the overall effect because the graphics, the PS1 graphics, for example, Resident Evil 1, wasn't outstanding. You know, they're very pixely, and you know, you could tell it's got an older look to it.
Definitely.
But when you're moving and driving like a tank and you have to spend a good 3 to 5 seconds aiming your tank at a zombie that's slowly creeping towards you and you can't just get the right angle on it or something, felt so stressful at the time. And it almost, that for that reason alone, it felt like the whole concept of like running past zombies, like Walking Dead style, like avoiding all the zombies, felt like a viable like strategy because it's not worth the engagement to try and aim and waste ammo. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's what makes those, that is a big part of what makes those games tense, and that's on purpose, right? Part of it that is the controls are on purpose because of fixed camera angles in the old Resident Evils, right? Every environment has only a couple camera angles, so if you change the controls to something that's more space oriented, it's very weird. And a good example of this is actually the first Resident Evil remake that was released on the GameCube. So the original remake, the one that was on the GameCube, kept tank controls, but when they ported it over to PCs a number of years ago, they actually introduced modern controls, which is more what you would expect.
Yeah, spatial related.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like up is up, down is down, and it's not up is forward, right?
Yeah.
And it's very jarring because of when you start incorporating that with fixed camera angles, it's very obvious why they went with tank controls. And also when you have really responsive controls like that, it kind of makes the game trivially easy because you can, it's very easy to just really run around things, which is part of why that game was so tense in the first place, is because it was supposed to be difficult to run past zombies, even though that was kind of like what you're meant to do.
Yeah. Now, before we hop off of the Resident Evil series, I do want to mention one more call out here, and this is a game that I've sort of been itching to play again, and this one, Lex, you'll remember really well, but I think you might have forgotten for the purposes of this convo, but Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles.
Oh, yeah.
For the Wii. That game was awesome. It was so much better than it had the right to be being on the Wii, you know, but that game was incredible. So maybe Lex, you explain a little bit about what Umbrella Chronicles is, like how that game works.
Yeah. So I think what made it fun and enjoyable was that it's a rail shooter. So you don't actually have to control your character. It's like one of those arcade style where you go through the map auto-controlled, but you're just shooting at stuff at the screen. And I think it played through Resident Evil
1 through 3.
Was it 3 as well?
Yeah, I believe so.
And 0 as well, right?
And 0, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it played through all of those, and it's kind of like a cinematic of like the game itself, like the original games, which I mean are more fun. You don't have to control or anything, but you get a chance to like shoot everything around you, find the collectibles, and then the really cool part was there was critical hits with the zombies, like right between the eyes, slightly above, like their forehead area. And, like there's like a satisfying noise, and like their and you never ran out of ammo. Like
that's right. Unlimited ammo for the samurai edges.
Yeah,
you guys like unlocked everything for that game, didn't you? You played it a lot.
Oh my god, that might have been the first game I've 100%ed ever. Maybe.
Yeah, Lex and I spent an absurd amount of time playing that game, and we would play a level through. So at the end of a level, you get a ranking from C to S, S being the highest rank, and this is determined by, how many points you got, how many collectibles, how many zombies did you take out, how many headshots did you get from the zombies, et cetera, et cetera. So Lex and I would play through a level a couple times, and then we started like having plays for as we're going through the level. So we'd be like, okay, we're going to go in this room, and there's 3 on the right side, so you take those ones out. I'll take the 2 on the left, and then there's going to be 2 in the middle that come. And so like we'd sort of be strategizing out how we're going to run through this level each time. And I think we 100%ed it all on S rank, Lex. Did we not?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it took a while, but it's fun. I feel like we can pick that up today and play it again and still have it be just as fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the reason I liked it so much is because it's like a co-op horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep,
that's right.
Yeah, like if any of the games like Gigs played was like co-op, and he can like
hearing you,
I made 100% play. Like if this was like a horror game and the goal is to like, get out of the mansion, but I knew Gigs was playing, I'd be exploring the mansion as if it was like Luigi. Are the coins under this pillow? And the guy's like rocking everything hard mode,
There are a couple, right? Like the Resident Evil 5 and 6 are co-op, as well as Dead Space 3. And those are the only ones that are coming to my head at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Gigs and I actually ran through Resident Evil 5 together, and that's a super fun game. I think that, from my perspective, maybe you think otherwise, Gigs, but that's the game where it's sort of the series felt like it shifted from like a survival horror game to just like a straight up action horror game.
Oh yeah, it became an action game with horror themes. Actually, kind of like midway through 4.
Midway through 4. I actually never played all the way through 4.
Yeah, I would say it turns into more of an action-oriented game and less with horror themes rather than a horror game. Yeah, about halfway through.
Because I know 5 felt very much action game with horror themes, and I haven't played through all of 6 yet, but 6, Resident Evil 6 feels like a straight-up Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, gameplay-wise, 6 is super fun. A lot of people don't like it for a number of reasons, which are all valid. But as an action game, it's pretty fun.
But yeah, straight-up action game, super fun. I haven't played it through yet, but it is on my list to play. Okay. We talked a little bit about, I want to say, a standard vanilla pick. Resident Evil makes sense. When we talk about horror games, you can't have that conversation without at least talking about a Resident Evil game.
Of course.
But Gigs, give us some of the off the beaten trail, maybe, if you, or it could just be really, really good ones that are kind of on the top of your mind.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is a tough one because there's many different genres, right, of types of games and stuff and themes, like I was kind of mentioning earlier. I would say, like, for me, one of my top themes for a horror game is actually sci-fi, so that's usually space. I've mentioned it before, but Dead Space is one of my all-time favorite games, and the remake as well, because it's basically the same thing with nicer graphics. But Dead Space is incredibly, incredibly good, and it takes place on a derelict space station, and it's got, like, the creepiest monsters and stuff like that are all very body horror centric themes. Kind of along those lines is anything Alien, like the Alien movie franchise adjacent. They're really good too. So there's this game called Alien Isolation, which is a very old school style. I shouldn't say old school style, but a much more thriller-based horror game where you don't really fight back too much, and it's more along the lines of escaping and avoiding the alien, like the xenomorph alien, the creepy, long, black-headed monster guy. And then there's actually a game recently that I played, which is called Aliens Dark Descent, which is a more XCOM strategic squad-based video games. So think like you're controlling a small squad in something like a MOBA. So you're playing Meepo or something, but you have guns, and that's a horror game. But that's a strategic. You can real time with pause XCOM style game. So it's like those are two completely different genres in the Aliens universe that both serve to have that really incredible tension that belongs in the Alien universe with the cool themes. I've always loved the Alien theme, which is that sort of space colony feel where there's not too much in the way of like crazy technology. So you're still shooting aliens with bullets and things like that, and not so much like Gears of War where you have the Hammer of Dawn that shoots a satellite laser. You know what I mean? So
such a cool weapon. How did that not make our list from a couple episodes ago?
That thing was awesome. But like, you know how in those games you feel powerful and you fight back against the monsters, whereas in Aliens the idea is that you're not capable, so you have to do your best to survive. So that's why I really like those games. Some big franchises, horror franchises that are kind of popular. Silent Hill just released a new game, Silent Hill F. I've never played a single one, surprisingly.
Like even as of today, you still have not played a single one?
Nope. I played like the first 15 minutes of Silent Hill 2 on the PS2, but I didn't have a memory card, so I kind of just stopped at the time.
I know that struggle.
Yeah. 8 megabytes for $70 or whatever it was.
That's actually the reason why I've never beaten Resident Evil 1, is because when I was playing that one, I didn't have a memory card. to be able
Yeah.
to save. Not
That's a hard one.
It's a hard one. I mean, it didn't make a ton of a difference because you still have to collect the ink ribbons and stuff, so you have limited saves anyways. But it's hard. It's hard to play games when you can't save.
Yeah. Oh my god. But that was kind of part of it too. And that's why I liked a lot of those games is that design is very thought out and intentional.
Yeah.
So it's like the idea of Resident Evil and limited inventories and limited saves is to put you in that state where you have to take risks
Yeah.
in order to get further in the game. And so that is part of the design, right? You can't just have everything on you at all the time and feel all powerful. You have to make sacrifices in order to do what you want to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so are you thinking that you might want to try the Silent Hill, the new release coming up?
I probably would rather start from the beginning. I like to do that with a lot of series-based games.
You want to start with like the PS1 Silent Hill?
Yeah. So I would probably try and find a copy, play through 1 and 2, and then it's 2 remake that was released, I think, this year, and then kind of go from there. And then eventually make my way to F. Because I always find that with a lot of these types of things, there's a lot of callbacks and things that you learn from previous games that you would carry with you over to the next ones. Much like a FromSoft game like Dark Souls. The things you learn in the first Dark Souls carry with you for any FromSoft game in the future. So it's like you progressively learn to play them as they get further and further into their numbered series or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, I play so many, like, it's hard for me to say just because I do play a lot of them. So, like, I have a lot of favorites and I have a lot of different genres that are all under my belt in terms of the genre or the horror themes and stuff like that.
So let's maybe hear from the opposite side of the spectrum. What's a horror game that you've played semi-recently that wasn't very good? Not from like just the game sucks, but like let's take it from like a horror game perspective. So it was marketed as a horror game, but it either like wasn't scary or the tone wasn't right or just something about it just made it feel like, no, this shouldn't be a horror game. Do you have any of those types of games in your mind?
I would say, I mean, for that one, it's Resident Evil 6. That's, that's kind of like the default answer, but
totally.
Like off the top of my head, it's a little bit harder because they have to kind of be a game where it's marketed as you're weak, but very quickly you realize that it's like, oh, you can just like bulldoze through everything in the game. There's not too many of those without putting in like effort. So yeah, off the top of my head, I can't really think of any. And I usually do stick to games that have generally good reviews or good feedback from other players than like, oh yeah, this is a scary game versus, oh, this is just an action game.
Okay, so you mentioned something about basically being like powerless in a game, not really. Kind of the difference from Resident Evil 6 where you're kind of just like Rambo guns blazing, whatever, right? I mentioned at the top of the episode where when you feel powerless, it really builds that kind of scary vibe. Have you played Outlast, Miguel?
No, I never have, actually.
You've never played... Lex, have you played Outlast?
I don't think so. I actually think I own it, but I've never played it. I was under the impression I would play it, and it was really cheap back at GameStop back then. But it's just a collector item for me now.
Well, I think we all have it free. I think it was on one of the free PlayStation monthly games. So I think it's somewhere in your library. I was just going to sort of see how you felt about that one, Gigs, but you've not played it. But basically, I'm sure there are other examples that you have of this. But Outlast felt very scary for me because the entire game, you're not really fighting. You don't have any weapon of any sort. You are dropped in this setting with a video camera, and that's basically the only way you're getting around seeing is with the night vision on your video camera. So you're going through, I think it was like an abandoned hospital, but you're trying to find batteries, and the entire game, you're just literally trying to survive and you're not fighting anything. And that felt extremely stressful from like a horror perspective, knowing that you can't defend yourself in any way. The only option you have is to run or hide.
Yeah, that sounds like Amnesia. So there's definitely that genre that exists, and it's, you're right. There that tenseness, that tension that you feel from literally feeling helpless is a really brutal feeling, but super fun.
So you've played is there 3 Amnesias or 2?
I think there's 3. There's like Amnesia Dark Descent,
Yeah.
Machine for Pigs, and then I think there's a third one. I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
I've only played the first one, to be honest. There are other games by that developer that are on my to-do list. I was going to get to it probably this month, but yeah.
And how was the first one?
It's really good. For the time, it's pretty old now. I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great tension building game where you use the lantern and you have to use light to kind of find your way and limited resource type thing. And yeah, I think the feeling of having that monster that's stalking you is a pretty big trope in horror games, and I think a good recent example of that is Alien Isolation, where there's that stalker enemy that's after you, and you can't really do anything but run and hide.
I've been wanting to play Alien Isolation, so it is that kind of I want to say strict survival game. Like, you're not fighting in any way; you're literally just trying to run and hide from the xenomorph.
Yep. And it was like a revolutionary game for its time because of the AI. I can't remember what they talked about specifically about the AI that was special, but yeah, they did some very specific AI tricks with the alien, with the xenomorph, to get you to make it feel different from other stalker type games. Yeah, it's supposed to be like it learns from how you play the game, as opposed to being on a script.
That's
where
even
it's like
scarier.
Yeah, so it's like save scumming doesn't work because you can't predict what it's going to do. It'll change what it does every time you play.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What do you think, Lex? Does that sound like a game that you'd try? Alien Isolation?
It's actually on my want to play list, but I need a group with me. Like, so it's funny you mentioned that because
you need an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one thing with these games, I have to admit this. It's probably because I'm getting old, but my neck always really hurts after playing these games.
Because
just like because yeah, you're so tense, and like the way I sit, I just turn into like a Neanderthal, just like hunched, shoulders up. And it's like when you throw out your back legs. I feel like that every time I play these games. So just like, if you do plan to play Alien Isolation, I just recommend you take a couple breaks to really like make sure that your posture isn't.
Yeah, have my parents cooking in the background or something for dinner.
Sizzle. Well, if you hear the sizzling, that actually might be scary, because what if that's like someone cooking human flesh in the kitchen?
Oh God. It's funny you mention that, Drew, because so every time I come home for Christmas, now my brother wants me to play a horror game while he watches. So last year was Resident Evil 2. And then this year we were looking at Alien Isolation, or a game called The Mortuary Assistant.
Yeah, that's on my list too. I was going to play that.
So that just showed up on my Instagram feed. It was a streamer playing the game, and the stream itself jump scared me so bad. So I sent it to my brother. I was like, we have to play this game with your and the premise of that game is you're quite literally a mortuary assistant, and you're just doing your tasks as what you would do, like embalm, clean. But there's also like where do you work if you're a mortuary assistant? Like not a mausoleum. A morgue, yeah. The morgue is haunted, so there's jump scares everywhere. So like, say you're just like doing your embalming, and then you look up, and then there's something at the corner in the cabinet, and then you like look back down, look back up, and it's done, or you know, like the standard like
Yep.
horror tropes, but in a game form. And I don't even know how you would attack because there's no weapons. So. But it intrigues me, but that's not something I can play gig style with headphones on in the dark, door closed type stuff. It would be just so nerve wracking.
You know, you bring that up, and it's. I'm curious to know. I want to see if I can recommend you guys something based on a genre of game that you do like that isn't horror related. But if I wonder if they've made a horror adjacent game, because Mortuary Assistant is basically a management game, or like a task management game like Car Simulator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like puzzles, right? Like you do puzzles to beat the stage.
Exactly.
And that's
So,
like the idea of puzzles.
yeah, so I'm wondering, like, is there a game that you do like, a genre that you do like? And I wonder if I can name a game that fits that is spooky. Like, here's one. Lex, you like Slay the Spire. I know you do.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's a story-based card game that you might really like. Well, I shouldn't say that you might really like. It might scare you. But regardless, it's an excellent game. It's called Inscription, spelled with a Y. And that game is, at its face level, a card game, but it goes through the most wild ride and is one of the best thematically horror. I don't even know if it's horror. It starts off that way, but it takes you on a crazy journey from start to finish. So, you like Slay the Spire, I feel like you should try Inscription.
Okay, okay. Is that on Steam?
Yep, it's on Steam. I'm pretty sure. Actually, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's on like consoles and stuff too. Yeah, Drew. What? Drew. What is a game that genre that you like? And I wonder if there's a horror theme game.
So it's kind of like I said, these kind of quicker ones, right? Where it's on a slow burn. So I think the genre that has been most catering for that for me have been roguelites.
Okay.
So ones where you can kind of like drop in, you do a run for like 15, 20 minutes, and if you die, that's fine. You get to like kind of pick it up and not have to follow an overarching story so intently.
So, speaking of, I've played a couple recently. So there you go. So the one that I'm currently playing, which is really good, it's super cheap. I think it's like $4 on Steam, and it's really simple, but it's kind of just a roguelike RPG. Like when I say RPG, I mean like, you know, the old style where it's like attack, defend, blah, blah, blah. It's called No Skin. No dash skin. Okay. And it is really creepy, but it has like a really interesting backstory behind. It's like a very mysterious sort of telling a story through weird events. And it's just a really simple roguelike. Another one I've played recently is called Draft of Darkness. That one I'm not sure you guys would like, but I really liked it. It's just like it's like what is that game, Lex, that we played recently? Omega Labyrinth?
Color me intrigued.
But it's like you crawl through a dungeon that way, but the battles are Slay the Spire-esque. And it borrows heavily on horror-themed game tropes. So you have a character that shoots guns and fights with a flashlight, and then you have characters that fight with chainsaws. You have so it kind of like covers a gambit of different horror genres and puts that all in a mishmash of roguelikey goodness. Yeah. So I would recommend those two. I feel like there are others that I'm currently missing in my head right now. But I have played a few horror-themed roguelike games. So, yeah, if I think of another one while we talk here, I'll bring it up. But, yeah. No Skin. Awesome. Really cheap. I've been enjoying it because, again, it's got really interesting themes. So,
yeah. All right, let me switch back over to you, Lex. There's one here that I don't know if this constitutes as a horror game or maybe this is more of an action game, but this is a game that you got us all set up with and got us playing a lot of online multiplayer nights when we lived in separate cities. I'm talking about the Left 4 Dead series. So we're talking Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead 2, and Back 4 Blood.
Yeah.
Do you consider those horror games, Lex?
No. Like,
Really?
the theme is horror, but I don't consider it a horror game because you're not scared, you know?
You weren't scared playing those games?
The first time we played that, you weren't scared?
You remember The Witch?
Yeah. The
That was
Witch.
fun, though. That wasn't like scared because, I got like a girl engaged with me. I'm like, nothing can hurt me. I'm gonna look at these flowers.
Or the tank music. Do you remember whenever it's like the tank
Yeah.
isn't coming?
But it wasn't like scary hearing it. It was like almost exciting. But I think it's because again, it's co-op mode, right? So I'm playing with the two of you. The fact that I know, oh, these guys can handle the tank or the witch. I'm gonna go see what's in that trash can super quick.
Jeez.
This ties us back to our zombie apocalypse episode last week, where our roles were sort of semi-defined playing those games together. But I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, Lex. You are always the I want to say.
You can be honest. I get distracted pretty easily. Like, you know, that episode where Peter sees like a piece of candy, which is continues for like 5 minutes. Yeah, that's like me and these games when I play with you guys. I know I'm safe. Like, if a witch is coming, I can hear the music. But then if I turn and I see piece of candy. I kind of just veer off. And then, if you guys remember, it happened a couple times in the game itself where you guys are fighting a horde and you're like, "Let's let me at him." Like, I am not even close to you guys. I'm still in the safe house.
I can confirm that is a scenario that has happened on multiple occasions.
Yes.
So Gigs, you'd say the Left 4 Dead series are horror games?
Yeah, I would say so. Like they're not particularly scary anymore. I think that's just because the trope has been, I wouldn't say outplayed, but like we're used to it at this point. It's formulaic. Formulaic might not be the best word to use, but you know what I mean when I say it's like there's you can expect things, and so when you have expectations that are kind of like in a genre, I think that kind of takes away from it. But I think thematically it's very horror themed, right? Like you're the only survivors. You get these giant hordes of zombies. Whenever like somebody gets caught by the smoker, those moments are super tense, right? Someone's getting dragged by the big tongue, but it's like, oh, I can't help you. I got like, throw a pipe bomb, blah, that kind of stuff. So I think it's still a horror game, but it might not be just it won't give you that same tenseness as like a solo player, very slow burn.
Yeah. I actually feel, for me anyways, that they did a really good job in that series of, like, how we were talking, when we have kind of these slow burn, really build up the tension kinds of games, it makes them really scary in tone. For the Left 4 Dead series, I found the tension came from, even though you're overpowered, you have machine guns and baseball bats and whatever, but it was from the sheer volume of zombies. So this was not like a Resident Evil where you enter a room and there's like 3 zombies, maybe 8 to 10 zombies if it's really crowded. This is like you're walking down the street and then there's literally hundreds of zombies that come rushing at you in like a wave. And that felt extremely chaotic and so scary because you're using a whole magazine from your weapon and then you're reloading, but there's still like hundreds still coming at you nonstop. And that felt insane when we were playing that, like the coordination of us screaming at each other. Throw a grenade, throw a Molotov, come here, get in the room. Like it was, I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, but that felt like zombie apocalypse survival simulator for reals. Like this is like we would have to coordinate really well to get through this together.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of you know the parts of those stages where you have to like lower a bridge, but it takes like 5 minutes and then
Yeah.
it makes a lot of noise, so you have to like hunker down in one single spot. Those
Yeah.
are like very tense because someone, or I shouldn't say someone, but like it would send a tank, and then you're so worried because someone's gonna get like slapped across the map and then like start falling off the building. And it's like, no, the helicopter's here. Go save Lex. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
The save Lex.
Only two survived. Yeah.
That was a very fun game.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes in line with the other like it's like another series of horror games, but I didn't find them to be scary, and it's like the Supermassive games because
Supermassive.
the like Until Dawn or the Man of
Oh.
Men, or the Quarry, and
Quarry, yep.
like you're playing like almost like a horror movie,
Yeah.
and I think that was more fun than scary because well, actually, I was playing it with my wife, and we got super invested into like the actual story of it. That it got like fun to play, and it was the same thing with like Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood. I would play with you guys, and it was just overall fun versus like these solo horror games like the Resident Evils, or I'm guessing the Mortuary Assistant, or even like the Fatal Frame series, because you feel so hopeless or like useless, and
Yeah.
you don't have weapons and stuff like that. I think that's what makes it scary. So I feel like the horror games, there's like scary horror and then action horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's definitely a difference between the two.
Yeah.
I think like I really enjoy the story ones more than the action ones. The action ones, I feel like they live or die by the mechanics, but like the story ones can have the worst mechanics of all time. But as long as it tells a good story, you know, I
Yes.
can live
Yeah.
through it.
So let's finish our episode today with some last thoughts on horror games. We'll just do a quick round table here. If you have any, really, really good horror games that you want to make sure you get a quick minute in the spotlight here. If you have any recommendations, any thoughts you have around horror games, let's drop that for our listeners. So let's start with you, Lex. Last thoughts for horror games.
Yeah, like there's a whole bunch that I would like to try. Like I want to try Alien Isolation, the Mortuary Assistant. I really want to try. I think it's called Yomawari. Like gives it.
Oh yes, Yomawari. Oosh.
It's like a 8-bit, but it's a Japanese horror, so it's going to be scary. There's, I think it's called White Day. It's a Korean horror.
Oh, that's on. I have that literally downloaded on my Steam Deck as we speak.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, there's that one. There was one more, and I can't. Oh, the Little Nightmare series.
Also on my
Oh.
Steam Deck that I'm about more than halfway through the first game.
Oh, nice. Okay. Like they all look equally scary, but they've gotten like good ratings overall, so it makes me intrigued to play it. But I don't have the cojones to start that up on my own. October. I try and watch a horror movie every night, but my wife was away last week on like October 1. So my first horror movie was Hubie Halloween because I didn't want to watch something too scary.
Ease into it, right?
Yeah, because like I don't know why, like things get into my head, especially if I'm playing a horror game. It gets more into like my mind where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna freak myself out before I go to bed. Like I'll think I'm all tough and strong. Like, that was a joke. That was too easy. But then the moment the lights turn off and I'm in bed, I'm like, oh my god, there's something in the corner. I don't wanna look that way.
Okay, good. Amy, you got some good picks there. I think Gigs has them on the list too, so I think you have some good selections there to dive into if you're ever so in the mood this month. Gigs, how about you? What are your last thoughts, last picks, last call-outs for horror games?
Oh, that's again tough. There's so many on my to-do list. Like, there's a few series that I want to get through. Not necessarily this year or this Halloween, but soonish. I kind of mentioned Fatal Frame, or not Fatal Frame, Fatal Frame is one of them. But I was mentioning Silent Hill. So I want to get through the whole Silent Hill series at some point. Fatal Frame, like I mentioned. I want to get through the Alan Wake series. Now, people talk about the new one. Yeah, Alan Wake 2 apparently is like extremely good. And even the first one. But I've never really gotten through those. So those are also on my to-do list of series.
Yeah.
And then in general, there's just like a bunch of one-off, very story-focused horror games that I want to get through. Something like Layers of Fear, or I think there's another one called, Soma. That was the one I was thinking of earlier. Soma is made by the Amnesia devs.
Okay.
So that's kind of the more walking simulator type horror. So I want to get through those at some point. But I just want to give a quick little shout out to one of the most interesting horror games that I've played recently. And I beat it very recently. It was another one of my September games. It's like a RPG Maker type game, which is really weird. So you're kind of top down, little pixel guy, battle system doing fight items run sort of thing. But it's called Look Outside. And it has some of the absolute best design for, I guess you call them enemies, but just the weirdness of it. It's so good. The synopsis, we'll say, for the game is that you wake up and apparently there's something outside. And if you look at it, it either distorts you, destroys you, mutates you. It does some crazy thing to you. So you basically are in your apartment building with the blinds closed, and you're just trying to find something to do in your apartment building. But there's creatures, and your neighbors have body morphed into creepy things with like a billion eyes. It's I would say like one of the coolest visual representations of like Lovecraftian horror in a video game that I've ever seen. And I loved it. I will probably make it one of my yearly playthroughs like I do with Parasite Eve. So it'll be on my top replayability horror games for the foreseeable future. So just want to give that one a shout out. Look Outside.
Look Outside. It sounds kind of like a video game version of Bird Box, the Sandra Bullock movie.
Oh, I've never seen. But
Gigs, if you liked that game, based off of what your synopsis was, you should probably check out Bird Box at some point this month.
Oh, there's so many horror movies that I gotta watch. But then there's so many horror games that I gotta play.
Yeah.
But then work gets in the way. Ugh, worst. The worst.
For me, I think, well, like I said at the top of the episode, I don't typically lean towards the horror game genre, but I think the ones that you've mentioned, Gigs, are definitely ones that I want to take a look at. Right now, the only thing I'm really, really itching to play is Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. So next time we get together, we're gonna have to dust off the Wii and do some Umbrella Chronicles runs together, because
that would be so sick.
Yeah. Let's plan for that the next time we get together.
How is it not released on the Switch? Like, you can do rail shooters with the Joy-Con, can't you?
You can, yeah. Like
totally. House of the Dead is on.
Oh
Switch.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Randomly, did we play it on Wii or did we play it on PS3? Because I remember using the Move controllers from PS3 as well for that.
Maybe the second one. We definitely played Umbrella Chronicles on the Wii.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You guys definitely played it on the Wii. I remember that. You're talking about the weird, the glowing balls?
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one that had that.
Remember, we were supposed to use the Wii Zapper too. I don't know if you remember that. It's the one that's kind of like the compact.
Oh yeah.
But Lex and I, once we got into the groove, we had our own special like poses.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
was it like you were holding a flashlight? Like, you know how I think it's cops. You know, they have the flashlight in their left hand, and then they have their pistol in their right hand, and it's crossed. Were you guys doing that? Except it was a Joy-Con and a Wii remote.
No,
I think that would have looked much cooler than what our actual poses were. We were optimized for movement and zombie takedowns, and not for looking cool at all. So you would have come into a room and been like, "What are you guys playing?"
That's true. If your guys' arms would have absolutely killed after playing as much as you did if you had your arms outstretched the whole time.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Tendinitis in the elbow for sure.
Imagine going to their doctor and they're like, "Yeah, I think I have tennis elbow." "Oh, you play tennis?" "No."
No, I'm saving Raccoon City, doctor.
Raccoon.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
All right, folks. That's a wrap for us this week on the Triple XP Arcade. We always love hanging out with you in the party, so please leave a comment below and let us know what your favorite horror game is, or if there's a horror game coming out soon, what are you most excited to be playing this October? Be sure to follow us on socials as well so you don't miss a drop, with new episode releases every Friday. And next Friday, we're going to be continuing our October Outbreak series with scary movies. You've heard Lex hint at this on this episode, but Lex watches a scary movie every day for October. So we're going to have a lot of scary movie suggestions and discussions for you next week, so stay tuned. Until then, game on, stay nerdy, and remember, you always level up faster at the Triple XP Arcade.